Long ago, we looked upon a foreboding sky.
Cut!
Long ago, there was a god named Bunavels who existed in a universe split up into two realms, the Light Realm and the Dark Realm. Wait, wrong game. These two were the mortal realm and the unseen realm, in simpler terms, the realm of those who are alive and the realm of those who are dead. Bunavels wanted to take full control of the realm of the living, so being the asshole that he is, he killed his own mother, Muin, to become the most powerful being in the mortal realm, since killing her obviously sent her to the unseen realm. However, before Muin died, she left a curse on the realm of the living, ensuring that one day everything in it would be destroyed, which Bunavels obviously wasn't happy about, so he looked for a way to destroy her entirely, even from existing in the unseen realm, but the moment that he travels into the unseen realm to destroy her, he loses his power over the mortal realm, so instead, he created a being called a fal'Cie to do his bidding for him. The first one he names Pulse, and Pulse is tasked with finding the door to the unseen realm so that he can travel through it and destroy Muin. And being the lazy piece of shit that Bunavels was, just to ensure that he really didn't need to do any work, he created another two fal'Cie, one named Etro, who was supposed to help Pulse in the search for the entrance to the realm, but he accidentally made her look just a little bit too much like his mother, so out of spite he gave her no powers, and the fal'Cie Lindsay to guard him while he took a nap in Crystal until they eventually found the door and woke him up. So Pulse and Lindsay carried out their jobs. Meanwhile, Etro starts going just a little bit crazy about the fact that her life sucks because she has no purpose and just exists because why the fuck not. So in the most hardcore notice me senpai that you've seen yet, she kills herself to get the attention of Bunavels, but he could care less and continues on his eternal nap. So Lindsay, while she's just chilling out guarding a crystal 24/7 with nothing else to do, decides to try and do something productive and make the best out of her sister's suicide. So she takes Etro's blood and out of it makes these tiny little beings called humans, or humans if you prefer. So back in the realm of the unseen, Etro is now there and she's like, "Oh hey grandma, what's up?" And Muin's like, "I'm dying, Etro. I'm being consumed by this thing called chaos," not to be confused with God Chaos from Dissidia. And eventually, she dies, but not before she asks Etro to watch the balance between the mortal and unseen realms, because an unbalance will cause the destruction of the universe. Contrary to what Bunavels thought, Muin was actually trying to save the universe, not destroy it.
I'm trying to save the world.
And Etro was all like, "I got you, Graham. I'm not really sure what you mean by all that, but I'm just gonna take off this chaos and put it into these little human things because who the hell does Lindsay think she is, making a species out of my blood? I'll show her." And with that chaos, humans grew hearts and emotions, which in the eyes of the gods was a weakness, something that got in the way, and would ultimately be their downfall because the destruction of everything, as much as Muin and Bunavels wanted to stop it, was inevitable. This was especially double ironic for Pulse because not only was he looking for a door to another dimension only to try and kill someone who was already dead, but even if Muin wasn't dead, she wasn't trying to destroy the universe like Bunavels thought. Alas, Lindsay, Pulse, and Etro continued on their jobs of guarding Bunavels' crystal, looking for the door, and watching the balance in the world. When Pulse and Lindsay finally discovered that their father was an idiot and that finding the door to the unseen realm was harder than finding Ventus in Castle Oblivion, and that Bunavels didn't need guarding because who the hell would want to mess with him, they decided to create a world for the humans. Pulse made the world and Lindsay took care of the humans, and they created fal'Cie to help the humans out. Pulse went on to be known as the Maker, basically the god of the people of this world, so much so that they named the planet after him, Grand Pulse, and Lindsay was more closely related with Cocoon, where all of the high and mighty humans that thought they were better than all the others would eventually go on to live. The one that got the worst deal out of all of them was Etro. She would go on to be known as the Goddess of Death, or in some cases, the literal Grim Reaper, which makes sense because she is basically in the underworld. However, they don't necessarily view her as evil. For example, back in the Versus 13 days, we saw Noctis at a dinner where they had a giant Grim Reaper statue holding up a painting of Etro because in Eos, she was known as the Guardian of the Kingdom of Lucis, hence the logo. So after that, Pulse and Lindsay were like, "Alright, we gave you guys what you need to survive. Peace!" And they left Grand Pulse and the humans they created. We don't know exactly how many different universes and planets these two created, but the number is up there. One of the major ones that we know of is Orience, in which they made Goddess Diva. No? Nobody remembers Goddess Diva? Maybe this will help? Yeah, she's the one from Type 0. Hence the logo. Pulse and Lindsay created her along with Archylte to be Pulse's servant and Gala to be Lindsay's servant. These two were tasked with the objective of opening Etro's Gate, which in simple terms was Pulse's original mission to find the door to the unseen realm. Because Bunavels was too lazy, so he assigned Pulse to do it, and Pulse was too lazy, so he assigned these two to do it. Now, to be fair, Archylte actually did really try to open the gate. In fact, most of Type 0 revolves around this, but Archylte and Gala had two very different ways of wanting to open the gate. She wanted to get a group of magical teenagers teenagers, I wonder who those end up being, in hopes that one of them would turn into the powerful being Archylte, which would be strong enough to open Etro's gate. Gala, on the other hand, just wanted to kill everyone on the continent, sending floods of souls pouring into the unseen realm in hopes that poor Etro will be too weak to handle them and give in, opening the gate. As for Diva, she was tasked with the ever so important and crucial task of keeping record of all of the stuff that happens in Orience. I guess Pulse and Lindsay wanted progress reports when they came back to check their worlds. They actually just said to her, don't do anything, just watch this place. I'm serious, she is literally not even allowed to intervene in any way, shape, or form. The Ultimania describes her as a neutral observer of Orience. Worst job ever. Man, the gods in this place are all assholes. Meanwhile, back in Grand Pulse, all the Fal'Cie and Cocoon are just sitting there twiddling their thumbs all like, man, we are godlike creatures compared to these humans, but Pulse has us serving them? I don't think so. So Barthandelus and several other Fal'Cie start recruiting humans and turning them into l'Cie, basically their slaves, in hopes that they can make one of these guys turn into Ragnarok, the destruction of all things, basically the prophecy that Muin told Etro about, and maybe then, in the actual ultimate Notice Me Senpai you've ever seen, they'll get the attention of both Lindsay and primarily Pulse, their quote-unquote maker. Long story short, the l'Cie defeat the Fal'Cie, stopping any chance of them destroying the world, and Pulse is still doing fuck all who knows where, probably creating the planet where Final Fantasy XVIII takes place, or playing a game of chess with Gilgamesh, I don't know. This causes Cocoon to almost fall, destroying it, but two Australian girls decide to turn into Ragnarok and somehow, with little explanation, make lava rise from the ground of Grand Pulse into Cocoon, wrapping around it and immediately turning into ice for whatever reason, keeping the moon suspended. Hence the logo. Back with Eratia and Gala, they're attempting to open the gate by getting the four nations of Orience to fight, but each time when given the opportunity to, Class 0 decides to turn into l'Cie instead of staying human, which means that they were a failed experiment and the world is reset and started over again. You find out at the end of the game that you're actually roughly the 600 millionth attempt at this, but the different factors this time around were the two not special kids who actually ended up being special. I know, shocker. They turned into l'Cie instead and lent Class 0 their powers to defeat good old Sid because he thinks that the gods are all assholes and wants to stop the cycle. Oh Sid, you think you can make a difference, you. The slightest thing goes wrong, everyone is killed and wiped out by Gala and the world is started over again. Don't be silly, Pulse and Lindsay aren't gonna let something like feelings or humanity get in the way. Meanwhile, back in Eos, a bunch of stuff happens that is unrelated to the Mythos story. Evil Empire steals Crystal, blah blah blah. Tabata tries to break all connections between Final Fantasy XV and the FNC by saying things like, oh, that's not necessarily Etro in the logo, and they're not Eidolons, they're Archaeons, and they're not Fal'Cie, they're whatever they end up renaming these. Yeah, great job, guys. Keep all the aspects, but just change the names. Really covered your tracks well. The fans will have no idea. Anyways, fast forward a couple years and you enter 13-2, a game so unnecessary and pointless it makes Songstress facepalm. A lot of confusing time travel stuff happens, but in the simplest term, Etro's getting really pissed off because of Eratia and Gala's fucking around in Ori and sending all of these souls over to her over and over and over and over and over again, so she's pretty weak, all things considered. Dumbasses. Don't you see? If Etro dies, you all die. Idiots. Etro uses her goddess powers to retcon the ending of the original 13 and instead write out one of the l'Cie, Lightning, out of history ever since she arrived into Grand Pulse, basically making her her servant. Yay, now each of them have their own henchmen. Lightning is supposed to protect Etro from people who want to kill her, like Caius, who once again rightfully hated the gods. I mean, man, it just really seems like a reoccurring story of people hate the gods hire someone to shut people up. The end. 13-2 gets way too overcomplicated, but in short, Lightning's sister Sarah and a guy named Noel managed to save time from all of the paradoxes which, for reasons too complicated to go into, kill Sarah, and all of the humans are evacuated from Grand Pulse into a new floating continent named after the asshole himself, Boonevils, because good old Cocoon once and for all plunges into the earth, destroying itself and a big part of Grand Pulse. So let me get this straight. You guys had continents named after Boonevils, Pulse, and Lindsay, but nothing for Etro? Why does everyone hate her so much? Anyways, in order to fix the timelines, the guy who wanted to kill Etro, Caius, needed to be killed as well. However, at some point he was a guardian as well and actually held Etro's heart of chaos, so killing him also meant killing Etro. So once and for all, the goddess of death falls, opening the realm of the unseen. Maybe now Pulse will actually show up and do something for once. So, God business aside, this means shit for all of the humans because Etro was the only thing holding the balance between chaos of the world, and without her there, all of the chaos just comes pouring out, basically destroying everything like Moon's prophecy told. Always listen to your grandmas, kids, they know what they're talking about. So Lindsay does the one thing that she was actually created for and wakes up Boonevels from his crystal sleep and tells him how the gate has been open. Meanwhile, all of the humans go into this interdimensional city called Nova Crystallis, where they basically have 13 days before the chaos from the gates take over and they all die. Are you happy, Lindsay? Is this what you wanted? So Boonevels wakes up and he's like, hey Lightning, how would you like to work for a real god, not any of that fal'Cie crap? I'll revive your sister, to which she agrees. Man, Lightning should really just start her own god henchman business with all this stuff that she's been doing. Basically, he gives her the title of Savior, and she is tasked with saving all of the lost souls from the people, because wouldn't you know it, the one thing that you wanted all this time, Boonevels, ended up causing the one thing that you didn't want to happen all this time. No, I am not letting this go. Are you guys starting to see why I hated these three so much? Basically, Boonevels accepts the fact that he fucked up, and what he's planning to do with all of these Souls Lightning saves is to place them in a new world with basically a reboot, Type 0 style, except this time instead of just being a continent, it would be an entire universe. As the game goes on, Lightning eventually finds out that even though Boonevels could theoretically create a new world, the reason he hired her to begin with is because he himself can't create humans out of the chaos, so he basically needed Lightning for all of this to work, otherwise it just wouldn't have. Pfft, what a wimp, this god can't even do what the lesser fal'Cie gods that he created could do. Hashtag Etro deserved more respect. Speaking of Etro though, Boonevels was actually lying to Lightning and couldn't really bring back Sarah. He was mainly just using her Zeus style to get her to save all of the souls from the chaos and eventually basically trick her into becoming the new Etro herself. Goddess Lightning. The name fits well enough, I guess. Although the two kind of disagreed on how the new world should run, as Boonevels wanted a completely 100% new clean slate where he could control everything and everyone, and Lightning obviously didn't, so the two of them fought, Boonevels literally using Pulse and Lindsay as his weapons. I am not making this up. This is literally how little he gives a fuck about them. So Lightning defeated him, basically ending the last of the old gods. A new world for the humans to live on is formed in a brand new planet called Earth. The rest of this universe's story can be found in your local library under Human History. Thanks for watching. Sheesh, and people say the Kingdom Hearts story is complicated.